Looking for the latest comic book to add to your collection? How about the last card for that Magic the Gathering Commander deck? Well, the comic book store's got you covered. Shop online at comicbookstore.tcgplayerpro.com or come in person at 30 North Main Street, Glassboro, New Jersey. Pizza people, welcome back. We've got a pretty exciting deck list for you today. We've got a combo and controlled deck list built around Magma Opus. So essentially, you're trying to control the early game and then combo off in the late game with Torrential Gearhulk, Sublime Epiphany, and Magma Opus. Hollywoodpizza here, and let's go over the deck. So we have 4 Censors. We have 4 Fire Prophecies for our 2-drop slot. So Censor can essentially counter a spell unless its controller pays 1, or you can cycle it for a blue mana, just get a good redraw. Fire Prophecy is going to deal 3 damage to a creature, and then you can put a card from your hand on the bottom of your library. If you do, you draw a card. So both of these cards are nice early interaction that you're able to use as card filtering as well. The Fire Prophecy is kind of just nice overall because you get to do the card filtering no matter what. Censor, it's kind of more like a modal card where you're either choosing to counter a spell or cycle it. For our 3-drops here, we have 4 Fable of the Mirror Breaker. Can't go with most red decks without seeing this card, but if you don't know it already, essentially it's a saga for 3 mana. The first chapter is a 2/2 goblin token. Whenever it attacks, you get a treasure. Second chapter, you discard 2 cards, draw up to that many. And then the third chapter is you exile it, it comes back as Reflection of Kiki-Jiki, which is 1 tap, create a token that's a copy of another target non-legendary creature. This card can get pretty out of hand with our top-end creature that we'll get to in a moment here. We have 2 Sweltering Suns for the aggro-type matchups. Can kind of remove some creatures, board wipe, if need be as well. In those control matchups, anything that's like a mirror match, you can just cycle it away without any worry, knowing that your opponents aren't really going to play some of these little smaller creatures that you're mainly main decking this for. This could also be an Anger of the Gods. That is definitely an option, specifically because there's a lot of different graveyard strategies, maybe like a Phoenix deck, but I really like the option itself of being able to cycle this card and still being a board wipe on top. We have 4 Prismari commands, which actually make this deck run really smooth. You can use them to card filter, deal damage to a creature, player, planeswalkers. You can create a treasure token which ramps you, and then you can destroy any pesky artifacts, chariots, treasure tokens that your opponent might have, anything like that, even in the mirror matches like gearhulks. And the main thing that this deck is essentially doing here, we have 4 Indomitable Creativity. So this card pretty much is triple red X, destroy X artifacts or creatures. For each permanent destroyed this way, its controller reveals cards from the top of their library until they reveal an artifact or creature card, and exiles that card, then they put them onto the battlefield. So this card gets around Grafdigger's Cage, anything like that, because it actually puts it into exile before it comes into play. So what you're really trying to do is you're trying to get like a few treasures out with the Prismari command, or even our Magma Opus, which is our top end spell here at 8 mana, deals 4 damage divided, tap 2 permanents, make a 4/4 token, draw a couple cards. You can discard this early in the game to make a treasure, and then follow it up with the Prismari command, and then cast your main card of Torrential Gearhulk to go over the top of your opponent very early. Usually around turn 4 is the earliest you can pretty much do it, but 6 mana 5/6 with flash. When it comes into play, you can cast a target instant card from your graveyard without paying its mana cost, and then you exile it if it goes back into the graveyard. But this card's phenomenal. You can just pull off some really nasty things, especially combined with Sublime Epiphany. So this is where it all comes together. You use your Gearhulk, you flashback your Sublime Epiphany to copy your other Gearhulk, redo the Sublime Epiphany again, and then your last Gearhulk can get the Opus. And this actually happens a lot more often than you think. On top of that, Sublime Epiphany is just a really, really strong counterspell. It definitely feels like Cryptic Command to a certain degree, where you're just getting like a 3 or 4 for 1. You're countering your opponent's activation of a creature land, anything like that. So just a really, really powerful card overall. To help round out the deck, we got a couple big scores. Just been testing this card out a bit. We have gotten about like 26 matches with this deck, but big score was added after like about 10 games. It's kind of just in here to give us a little bit more card advantage and to ramp us to make sure we hit these Gearhulks. On top of that, it makes treasures, which are great with the Indomitable Creativity, which go back to the Gearhulks. For our mana base, we have some interesting lands in a couple Sekenzans. You can create the tokens with it, and then creativity them. Once again, getting your gearhulks. Otawara helps get rid of pretty much bounce a permanent, whether it be an artifact, creature, enchantment, or planeswalker, back to its owner's hand. So you kind of use this sometimes to bounce the potential like hate card that's stopping you for a moment, or you can usually use like the Sublime end step. But the Otawara is just a great land overall, kind of just adding some utility. On top of that, the rest of our deck rounds out with like Steam Vents, the Coast, Sulphur Falls. There's 4 ofs, a couple mountains, an island, 3 pathways, 3 canals. For our sideboard, we have some interesting cards here. So we have a couple Aether Gusts to help with anything that's like a red or green deck. Sometimes, like I said, even the Mirror Matches card is going to be pretty decent. You got some negates to help against the control matchups or anything that might be grindy that's more reliant on non-creature things like planeswalkers, instants, and sorceries. We have 2 Fry to essentially get rid of like Teferis or any problematic blue or white creatures that may be running around. On top of that, the spell can't be countered, so you know it's going to resolve. We have 2 Chandra, Torch of Defiance. Just a solid grindy card overall. It's also really good against control. Like, if you land this, your chances of winning the game are just so much higher. On top of that, it's a really good removal spell as it can kill something that's 4 toughness or higher. We have 1 Test of Talents to get rid of anything that's like a problem, counterspell them back. If we're playing against an ultimatum type deck, you can also just get rid of all those ultimatums as well. So, pretty decent card there. We have 2 Cinder Clasms. Deals 1 damage to each creature, and then when you kick it, it's 2 damage to each creature instead. On top of that, it's an instant, so it's a pretty powerful card against any type of like rush strategy. We have 2 Mystical Disputes, which are just great overall against mirror matches, blue decks. Just for 1 blue, you're usually going to be countering anything that's like a blue-related spell. So really great to have these still on the sideboard. 1 Shark Typhoon kind of just helps go over the top in the control matchups. Decent in the grindy matchups, anything like that. And the extra Sublime Epiphany, once again, to go over the top of the control decks. Or when you know that your combo is just like necessary and you're just going to grind the game to get to it. And the Sublime Epiphany is just going to help you get there. So yeah, I've had a ton of fun with this deck. The only changes I think that I would make is potentially these Cinder Clasms should be unlicensed hearse, just because that card has been absolutely phenomenal. So I think if there's anything, that's the first change that I would make. Other than that, I actually think that the overall deck list is really, really solid. You have a pretty tight sideboard that gives you options against all kinds of different decks, and they're also cheap options. And then your main deck is already just like this super powerful, like somewhat tap out control sometimes. Even though a lot of your cards are instant or flash, like you're actually going to end up casting some of these during your turn just to make sure that you end the game pretty much on the spot, because Gearhulk plus Opus is just so much value. And when you put Epiphany in there too, it's just gets a little bit out of control. You end up with like 4 or 5 Gearhulks all of a sudden in your opponent's trying to figure out how they're going to deal with that. But I had a ton of fun with this deck. I definitely recommend it for a tournament. I definitely recommend it on the ladder. So we're going to go ahead and jump into some games and see how it goes. Jumping into some games here with the old Gearhulk Opus. I do enjoy the Gearhulk quite a bit. This hand is definitely slow. We have a little bit of some different options here on what we could do as well. I think, just a little bit too weak, right? Mulliganing does hurt us a bit. We don't know what our opponent's up to. Is the Fable enough? We're on the play. Let's try it out. It's obviously risky, but I don't necessarily want to go down in cards, and us having access to all of our mana is great. And it looks like we might be playing against control here. Yep. And I don't think that we just want to run this Fable out right now. Not against a counterspell of some sort. There's the Censor. So kind of a interesting matchup. They're actually getting rid of both of their Censors, so opponent's digging deep here into the deck. Looks like they're Jeskai. I think we just Prismari Command here, making a treasure, drawing a couple cards. And it looks like main deck, Dovin's Veto. Alright. Gotta look forward to that. Play this. We'll go ahead and play this Fable. And pass the turn back to our opponent here. We can cycle the sensor if need be. It's not really going to be doing anything in our hand too much. Gonjo. Do they have a Wandering Emperor? They might. That's a pretty good draw. Did we just get rid of a creativity? I don't think so. I think we play Otawara. I'm going to go for the attack to see if they just try to slam the Wandering Emperor here. Alright, just going to take it. We don't have an Opus, so we don't have anything crazy. I think we just pass a turn. And a Memory Deluge here. We could censor that. I think we will. I don't really see us getting more value from it, honestly. It could be a time where maybe they do tap out and we get them, but... Okay, let's see if they have it now. It'd be... Yeah, okay, I guess we still have... Okay, just gonna do that. Still have a Prismari command we can play. Let's make some tokens. The Kiki Jiki is a threat by itself as well, so... And we just end up drawing the land anyways. Let's attack first. We just get a Prismari command. But that could set us up for the other creativity. I get a feeling that they have a board wipe though, but they do. At least we'll have the treasure from the Prismari command. Let's go ahead and target a token here. I'm okay just targeting one. Mostly because if we end up going for both and then they just have a board wipe on their turn anyways, it's not going to feel the best. And it looks like they just have double removal spell. Pass the turn back. We can actually use this clue for the indomitable creativity. It looks like they do have a Wandering Emperor here. And they're going to exile the token. Let's draw off the clue though. I think I'd rather go dig deeper for something better. Prismari command's actually really good. It does do quite a lot right now, actually. So let's play this as a red source. Let's see. And we still have enough here, so treasure token, 2 damage here. We'll make the treasure. We'll go ahead and destroy our treasure to go get a Gearhulk. And have a pretty sizable threat here. We'll deal 2 damage and make another treasure. You know, if that portable hole had something under it, would have been pretty nice, but gonna have to just do what we can. Ooh, Teferi is actually really good here because they can just, put that back in. Okay. Well, Fable's not a bad draw, but Teferi on the other side is a little bit better. Still have a couple turns here. Depending on what we draw, though, we probably will just discard it to the Fable. So our opponent's getting some card advantage. Okay, potentially Assault coming here. So it's gonna be a bit difficult to deal with that. Prismari command's pretty good. I don't think that we want to cast it right now. Okay, they're gonna go for that. It's actually quite interesting. Looting puts it in the bin, so would we rather... Another good question is, would we rather redraw off the Fable, but I don't think that we would. We'll deal 2 damage here and try to kill the Teferi. They could have a Dovin's Veto or the Salt coming now. Behold the Multiverse. Okay. Wasn't really expecting that right now. We'll go ahead and kill their Teferi, get another treasure token. Let's float the mana here. A little bit unfortunate that we weren't able to capitalize on the Prismari commands draw, but is a bit expected here. So let's go come in for 2 damage. Our Fable is going to flip over into the Kiki-Jiki. Ooh, Dream Trawler. That's a pretty good card. And we draw a Censor. So, what are we hoping for here? An Opus, potentially. Okay, just a land drop. Let's go and pass the turn back to our opponent here. So that Censor came a little bit too late there. Looks like our opponent's going to get to gain some life, draw some extra cards this turn. Now we do have a lot of good draws left in the deck, though. And looks like they're going to go ahead and just make a 2/2 here. And we also draw a land. I think we just have to pass it back. We'll hold on to these lands if we draw some big scores. Okay, Trawler's going to go ahead and get pumped up. They're going to come in for damage. Yep. And the opponent does just have tons of cards now, so we're a little bit behind and buried in the card advantage as well, to the point where they can just cycle the Shark Typhoon and deal us more damage with the Dream Trawler. I'll go down to 9, they'll go up to 23. Get to make a copy of this Goblin at end step. Oh, Portable Hole. Looks like they're just going to target that. We're just going to make a copy of it. Alright, we get at least one more draw here to see if we can get something good. And either way, we wouldn't have been able to do anything. We could have copied that, and we just lose to the Dream Trawler. So against control, want to bring in all of our counter spells. We also want to get a little bit aggressive to a certain degree. We want to get rid of our Censors. They're just okay. These Fire Prophecies aren't really going to do it for us. And we just need to cut one more card. I think we can cut a Creativity. Don't really need the Sweltering Suns. We'd rather have the Aether Gust. Doesn't look like they're really playing any red. The Fries are looking good here. Yeah, let's do that. Still a little bit on the fence whether or not I want to bring in Censors, but I think this is a lot better. We're just going to try to go over the top of what they're doing here. Down a game, going to be on the play. Try to get the combo going here. And we have played a bit against control with this deck, so kind of is a little bit 50-50. I think we've had a better chance lately, but it's always going to be a tough matchup, especially considering they just have some cards that we can't outright deal with one card. And once again, we got a little bit of a slow hand, but I think we can keep it. We're on the play. We have Fable and Prismari. Opponent is going to take a mulligan here. Looks like they're deciding what card to put back with the Scry. And we'll play the Coast here. Going to pass it back. And we will as well. So Sulfur Fall is a little bit of an awkward draw there. It is going to come into play tap potentially. Okay, looks like they're just going to hold up. Maybe some kind of counter spell. We're going to pass it back. They are a little bit more draw go style than we are. I think we can... I think I'd rather just save all my mana and take my time here. Okay, just have Mystical Dispute. So they might have 2 mana open for the Fable here. I think I'm going to have to pay 2 life to make sure we can play through it. Okay, doesn't look like they had a removal spell, but I think it was still worth trying to play around it. And now we have Negate. Still don't think we want to get rid of any of these cards. They're all looking pretty good. Coming in with the Goblin token. And I actually think we can pass it. We just have so many counter spells now. Memory Deluge. All we have is Prismari Command. Can negate it. Let's if they play Teferi, it's pretty bad. Let's let this resolve. They're gonna get more cards. We have a pretty decent card here as well. That's giving us some advantage on the battlefield. So I think it's okay. If they try to go for something huge here, we just can counterspell it. Okay, not gonna do it yet. Chandra's pretty good. It's definitely a must-answer card. We'd only have Prismari Command in the graveyard. I think we just come in with the Goblin token. Make another treasure. Get some advantage in the mana side. Brazen Borrower. So, let's see here. I think we can just try to negate that because we can just play Chandra now. It seems like a bit of an aggressive play on my end, but I think that's okay. Still have 6 mana for the following Epiphany. If this resolves, it's a card they have to deal with right away. And yeah, we'll go ahead and top. Looks like we'll go ahead and deal our opponent 2 damage here. We get rid of a Fable, which is a bit unfortunate, but we're definitely just chugging along here with the Planeswalker, some creatures on the battlefield, and some powerful spells in our hand that we're hoping to cast here to help us get to the next game. And I think we just make a copy of the Goblin. Gonna come in for some damage here. Get some more treasures. We have a creature land as well in the Den of the Bugbear, which is fantastic. We can go ahead and exile our top card. And we'll deal damage. And pass it back to our opponent here, losing the token. They have a Wandering Emperor. I guess... Yeah, we're gonna see if we actually get to do quite a lot of things here. Is this at the beginning of the next end step? Activated or triggered ability. I think that's what we want to do, yep. Oh, we were bouncing, so hold on here. Sorry, sometimes it's kind of hard to not want to do everything. Create a token. Target player draws a card. Creature. And we'll draw. So they have a Dovin's Veto for us. Be a bit disappointing. Ooh, they have Mystical Dispute. So they're going to get their Wandering Emperor down. Probably exiling. Oh, okay. Making a token. Interesting. So we battled a bit there. I mean, the card that we were using is pretty huge. The card our opponent played was pretty massive, so... Chandra's going to take a bit of damage. Opponent does have the answer to our Den of the Bugbear. But there's a chance that we can line up some Gearhulks here, especially if our opponent just taps out for the Chandra. Okay, nothing yet. But it looks like they have something here. So yeah, we'll go ahead and just make a red mana. We'll be able to use the Reflection of Kikijiki's ability here. Opponent's at 6. Yeah, let's just do that. Use our floating mana to kind of just do some other things here. I also have a Gearhulk that deals potentially the last points of damage. We're just going to have to do this, though. Let's see here. How much do we really care about that? It's kind of weird because we're just going to use this. That's kind of rough, right? I guess that's fine. Let's uptick on Chandra. See if we get something good to play. Another Chandra. Oh, can't play that. They go to 4. 4. Oh, we're just gonna... Actually, we can just go get 2 Gearhulks, right? I feel like 2 Gearhulks is better than 1. Then we also only really have Sublime Epiphany. I guess that's fine. Yeah, let's just try to go for it. If we're just going to spend our mana, let's just try to go for it. Okay, they just tap out for Behold, so we're going to get 2 Gearhulks. AKA a lot more Gearhulks than that. Alright, so... get Sublime Epiphany and Prismari Command. Go ahead and make a treasure token. Deal 2 damage to this. And then we'll get some sublimes going. Bounce that. Make a copy. I'll draw. Opus. Can't cast that. We can cast it next turn. And if our Chandra survives, we're just able to just do a lot of things, so... Took a bit for me to kind of decide what I wanted to do there, but that's what ends up happening when you're playing a deck like this. You just got to take your time and think a lot of your lines through. You can do some pretty explosive things. Gonna be on the draw. Chandra was really good there. I think that our deck's looking fine. We just have a bunch of threats. Some good card draw. Wandering Emperor is definitely a problem. We might want a Censor, but we do have the Fries. But Fry, I mean, the Wandering Emperor is going to come down. Is Chandra a bit worse? I think we'll keep it. We'll try it. I really could see where we cut a Chandra, maybe play 1 Censor. It's like the Misers, just try to catch them, but I don't really think that's going to be worth it. Alright, we're going to hope to have a pretty good hand here. We've been pretty slow in the first couple games. Oh, looks like it's going to continue. We're going to have to take a mulligan here. Quite a lot of 6 drops. Ooh. Well, I think we're going to have to keep this. Don't believe I have a choice here. We don't want to go any lower than this. Drawing a Fry is okay. Looks like we're back to starting off with the Fable. Opponents cycling their Censor. Looks like they might have also mulliganed here. Paying some life. We'll get a Canal. And this can kill anything right now. Our opponent might try to get on the battlefield. And I'm just going to try to jam this Fable here. Okay, they do have Absorb. Going to try to slam the Chandra next turn, depending on what they do. They do nothing. Would we rather hold it? Let's just go for it. If they have a counterspell, they have a counterspell. We don't have much else going on right now. Yep, Dovin's Veto. We have a card that answers a threat that they might play. We have lands that we're able to put on the battlefield. Fortunately, we did draw another land, but we still have a chance here. Opponent with the Deluge. Okay, it comes into play tapped, and we get an Epiphany. That's actually really good. It has the potential to get us another redraw and counterspell like a Planeswalker. Cycling the Censor. Alright. Gonna pass it back. Mystical Dispute is great. I think I'd rather just hold up the Epiphany and the Dispute. They're gonna make a token. Okay. Going for the beatdown. 4 cards left. We're just gonna take it. They have to fairy. We're gonna try to counterspell this. And we have Mystical Dispute as backup. They have a Dovin's Veto. It's gonna be a bit annoying, but we can still counterspell the Teferi. So let's go ahead and try to counter their Dispute. And we do get to counter their Dispute, and we get to counter the Teferi. Redrawing a card, bouncing the token. We hit Indomitable, Creativity. Unfortunately, we don't have a creature right now to target with it, or tokens, or anything like that. So we're going to have to pass back here. Opponent's also passing back. We draw another Sublime Epiphany. Pass it. So they tap out for the Deluge. We're definitely going to counterspell it. Okay, they just get a Shark token instead. That's fine. Okay. Opponent still has 4 cards in hand, down to 3. We'll take the 2 damage, not a big deal right now. Fable's really good. We also have Sublime Epiphany mana up too. So let's go ahead and pass it back to our opponent here. We want to just keep up as much mana as we can every turn. The question is, do we want to counterspell this? They do get 2 more cards. This could potentially be gone for good. Think we might want to. Let's see if they drew a counterspell. Alright, let's get rid of that Deluge. We draw a card. Creature land's pretty good. It gives us an option if we don't have anything else for this creativity. Gearhulk, fantastic draw here. I don't think we want to get rid of any of these cards. We'll go ahead and smash in with the Goblins. Dealing our opponent the first damage of the game. And they're going to go ahead and make a Shark token. And I think we just shoot that down. They got 2 cards left, so right now they're just trying to stay in there. We also get a bunch of mana and treasure tokens to target with the Indomitable now. We have a Fable, the Mirror Breaker, that's going to flip over, a Gearhulk, or multiple Gearhulks. About to happen here. Wow, Test of Talents, huge draw. We're going to go ahead and attack with both of these Goblin tokens. Get some more treasures. They just have a Shark. We can't do anything really about that. Let's see here. We could get back. I think I'm okay just losing a token. We're going to get more tokens anyways with the reflection. I think I'm just feel better off playing it safe still with Gearhulk plus Test of Talents up. Alright, so now we do play the Gearhulk. Gonna find out if our opponent has a lot of counter spells here. Test the talents, the absorb. Does it happen? They have a Dovin's Veto, so nope. They're gonna get their Teferi down. Our Gearhulk is going to get counterspelled. And they have Teferi. They're choosing to draw. They get to untap a couple of lands. And one of their last cards that they played was a land, so they have one card left. Okay. Alright, so we drew that. Are they going to try to... They're going to try to Ether Gust it. Sure, that's fine. We'll make a copy of this. They don't have the mana to get rid of the creature land anymore. Sure, it doesn't really matter. It's just going to go on the bottom. So we need to get 2 Gearhulks. Oh wow, we can actually just kill this. Wow, that's kind of insane. Yeah, let's do 2 just in case, like, we really need the other one. I don't want to be in that spot, but it happens. Yep, our opponent's just going to go ahead and concede. We were going to get 2 Gearhulks. Kill the Teferi, eventually have like 4 or 5 other creatures on the battlefield, and just do a lot of crazy things. So yeah, we'll go ahead and see you in the next match. Grinding some more games out with the Gearhulk. Trying to build a Gearhulk city. On the play. This hand's fine. It's not my favorite, but I think it's okay. Couple of lands, but we do have the Opuses to potentially ramp us. The Fire Prophecy can get us a redraw if we really need to put the big score. Or the Epiphany back. And it looks like we're playing against Control again, maybe? Let's see what it is. Yeah, we're gonna pay some life. Probably pass it back. We're just gonna cycle this, or excuse me, discard it, make a treasure. And we hit a creativity, no land. A little bit awkward. Let's pass the turn back. I was really hoping to be able to use this Fire Prophecy, but fortunately it looks like Control, not really a deck where this card's going to shine. Opponent got a full grip of cards. Oh, they're going to play a Lotus field. Interesting. They have discontinuity. Let's make a treasure. They're going to end their own turn. I'm going to go for the big score here just because we need to make sure that we hit our land drops. Alright, and we make some treasures, which is fantastic. So, could set up for a big turn. Our next turn here, if we draw land as well, but either way, we have... Okay, we didn't do it, but we'll go ahead and pass it back. Could try to go for a big score here. It's a bit risky considering we're sacrificing a treasure and discarding a card. They're going to tap out, though, so I think that's okay. That's kind of like my cue to do it up. Alright, we draw a land. It's not going to come into play untapped, but we do have 6 mana now for our really big cards. Let's just hope that our opponent swings and passes the turn. That's kind of our best shot still. Yep. Going to take 4, go down to 16. And we'll see if they have like a Teferi, anything like that. Alright, so they did end up just passing back. We'll play land. And now we're also going to play the flash game, but our spells do a little bit more. If they tap out, we can just Gearhulk. Getting back a Magma Opus, killing a shark. Drawing some cards. They're going to go ahead and cycle here. Still have 5 mana open. Are they going to tap out? Nope, not yet. Not yet. And they're going to come in for 4. I think we have to take it still. And it looks like they might just pass it back. Paying life. Wow, so if they're paying life, I mean, they got to have something, right? And yeah, we're going to try to go for it. Here's Epiphany. We draw land. We're still able to cast our other big 6 drops. The Spire buff now, unfortunately, is hurting us a bit here. And opponent did have the Dovin's veto, so looks like our opponent's going to get a Teferi here. And they're looking in pretty good control right now of the game, but we have ways of stopping this still. We're not out of it. Steam Vents. I think we have to pay the life for that. I think we're just going to try to go for it. If they have a counterspell, they have a counterspell. Either way, we can't, wait to try to do it on their turn. We're going to try to at least get the Teferi out of the way. But, yep, they do have a counterspell, so let's just scoop it up here and move on to the next game. There wasn't really much for us there. It's kind of hard, honestly, I think. Could have gone the Fable route, but then we're going to go down to 8. They're redrawing. Could have been an argument to maybe hold up the counterspell and then try to bounce with Teferi to try to Gearhulk, but it's not really where you want to be. I think that we have a better shot just trying to sideboard here against them. Let's bring in the negates, the test of talents. Typhoons, disputes. We had the Chandras. Prophecy isn't doing anything. We can cut one of these. Bring in both the Fries. Cut the Sweltering Suns. Just max out on Epiphanies. Go big or go home. See if we can make it a game against our second control deck in a row here. I don't necessarily know who's favored. I mean, they have a lot going on, but at the same time, like if they make a mistake, they tap out, anything like that, I mean, we're just going to do quite a lot, So we can get a good opening hand here, something we can compete with. And this is actually pretty decent. It's not the craziest hand, but we're able to curve out to a certain degree. Like the negate isn't probably going to get played on turn 2, but we do have the Fable as well to follow everything up, so it's not bad. If we draw some lands, we get to cast our big spells. Like, let's say our opponent casts like an Azcanta, we're just going to negate that, play Fable, and then keep it going. I think that we're just going to have to pass it, though, because we don't have our... We're not able to play this and then just kind of just run into a counter. It's just not a good idea. We really want to hit our 4th land drop, though, here. Okay, we did not hit it. So I think we have to pass back. This Prismari command is going to have to dig a little bit deeper into the deck. They have a Castle Arvindale. And I think we do go for the draw 2, discard 2. Maybe getting rid of a Fable and a Sublime. And they just have a veto. That's fine. Wow, we do hit the land, which is nice. So let's go and get this Fable down. They have a counterspell. We have a Mystical Dispute. If it's a veto, can't stop it. It's a veto, so we can't stop it. But we do have this Mystical Dispute if they want to tap out. Oh, Wandering Emperor, though. Cannot counterspell that with the Dispute. So they are going to get to make a token here. So our opponent definitely taking advantage of us being tapped out. And it looks like they're going to play a Lotus field to progress their mana base. We hit a Prismari Command. I think we make a treasure and kill this card. But now we can hold up the negate or still hold up the mystical dispute. If we draw a land, we're good because we have our 6-drops as well. Gonna take the 2 here. Wow, that was a fantastic draw. Just trying to make sure we can stay in the game here. And if they tap out, we just have counter spells. Could have been an argument to play the Fable, but I just like taking my time still. As weird as it is, I think I'm just going to Mystical Dispute this. Do they have a Mystical Dispute backup? Maybe they do? Yeah, it looks like it. We don't have... Yeah, we have to counterspell this. I have to keep this too, just because we need the mana. If we end up just only having the Fable, it's just not going to be good enough, I don't think. So we're going to take 2 here. Oh, Strict Proctor. Really good card. Really good card. So it costs 2 more mana to do things. I think we pass it back. We're going to have to bounce the Strict Proctor at some point. Or we just bite the bullet, draw an extra land, and then Torrential, and still able to do it. Yeah, I think we got to counterspell this. Let's bounce the token because they're just going to get to play the Proctor again. I'd rather get rid of a card that isn't going to return. Okay, so this does resolve. We're able to get an extra draw here. We do have the extra mana for the Gearhulk as well. And our opponent just has a Lotus field left, pretty much. We're looking pretty decent here. Only have 1 card left. Yeah, we draw the coast anyways, so we don't have... Yeah, I think we're just going to have to pass the turn back and hope that this Gearhulk resolves. Yep, they're going to get to make a token. That's fine. 2 cards left for our opponent here. 1 card left. And I'm going to go for it. We're going to counter this ability. Yep. We'll pay for it. Try to do a bunch of things. Bounce this to tie up your mana. Now let's bounce the token. Copy this. Target me. Do they have a removal spell for the Gearhulk? See what they got. If they do, we don't get a copy of it, unfortunately, but we still get Sublime Epiphany going off. And we just draw another Gearhulk. Okay. That seems pretty good. Chandra's fantastic. We've got quite a bit amount of plays here. I think that we're just going to pay the life. Kind of have to hold up the Gearhulk, right? It's a bit risky, though. I think we have to Chandra. Kill this. Play the Fable. Pass the turn. Hope they don't draw anything too ridiculous here. If they get a Teferi, it's going to be really bad, but it's got to be a chance that we're willing to take here, considering that we can't really hold up all of our mana there. Can also take this hit. Don't know if it's worth it. If they attack the Chandra, we have to block with a token. Do they have a removal spell for the token? That'd be getting rid of both of them, but doesn't look like it. We'll block. Opponent's got one card in hand. Alright, we'll get a redraw here from the Fable. Just a land. Uptick on Chandra. Deal some damage. Sofa Falls. Pass a turn. Okay. So they're going to scry. Seems pretty good. Both to the top. All right. We got our work cut out for us here. Opponent's drawing straight gas. They showed it. They showed us the gas. Let's draw. Draw an Epiphany. Oh, another Gearhulk. Okay. Do we take the 7? I think we might have to. Chandra is going to die, though. That seems kind of sketch. Do we just go for the Gearhulk? Get a treasure. We can Prismari command. I think I'm going to go for it. We have a backup Gearhulk. I think I'd rather save the Chandra because it's just giving us card advantage. We want to keep doing that as much as we can here. If they have a counterspell, I mean, they do, and not really much else we can do about it, but at least we're giving this a shot. You got 2 cards left. Gearhulk resolves. Prismari command. Can make a treasure and draw 2. Yeah. Even if we mill ourselves for 2 cards, at least we might be able to flash them back with the Gearhulk. Yep. Well, it's a good thing we're trying to save this Chandra. Alright. And we still have a backup Gearhulk. Pretty tough game here. Trying to stay alive. That's going to flip. Uptick on Chandra. What do we got left? Can Prismari command. Yeah, I think we do this. Yep, we still have a mountain in our hand we can play. Do they have something for us here? It looks like they're just going to scry. Okay, no scry. Deluge. Sure. Might have made the mistake of not playing the mountain, but they're also tapped out. All they have is white mana now, so we're going to get a Gearhulk. Go ahead and Prismari. Treasure, draw 2. Negate is huge. Wow, do we have to discard the negate though? 1, 3, 4, 5. Discard 2 cards. Ooh, that's tough. I don't think we have much of a choice here. Oh, whoops, forgot that we got the treasure. Ooh, that hurts a little bit. Alright, now we kind of have to keep this. Alright, so always tough decisions here. Even when it feels like you're making the right decision. It's just so challenging sometimes. Forgot that we were making the treasure. Definitely could have gotten rid of the land and just held the negate, but you know, we're making the game a little bit more interesting. Opponent's got 4 cards in hand. We are trying here. Sure. Could just make some 1/1s here. They can't. If they attack with that, they can't fare well. And then we get the untap with the Gearhulk. Yeah, we'll just go ahead and make 2 1/1 tokens here. Block the Hall of the Storm Giant with one of them. If they have double removal, it's not even really a big deal. I don't want to just gang block either. We're starting to turn the corner a bit here. To a certain degree, I mean, our opponent still has 4 cards left in hand. Okay, Narset seems pretty good. They have 2 mana open. They hit a Shark Typhoon. Seems pretty good. So we'll get the Gearhulk. Don't even have anything too crazy to Gearhulk into. I think at this point, it's just Chandra's game. And we also just have counter spells here. Oh, wow. Yeah, I mean, we cast that. Deal this. Yep, that's gonna do it. We'll go and move on to the next game. We have Censor. Always think about bringing it in just because it's a cheaper card, but I think we're just gonna run it back. We kind of just had everything we needed there, and we were able to stabilize. Really tough games, just some crazy decisions. I mean, even if we kept the negate, it's kind of funny because we ended up using the tokens to block their creature land, so it ended up working out. It was just weird. Just a grind fest. Control mirrors, right? Excuse me there, catching a bit of a sip of some water there. Gonna be on the draw. And the sand's great. Pretty much exactly what we want. Starting off with the Sulphur Falls. We've got counter spells. We just need to draw some lands for our big cards as usual. And things are looking great. Wouldn't mind some mystical disputes in between. Opponent is mulliganing, so that's really good for us. Especially considering it's a control deck. So we'll go ahead and get this den down into the coast. We have these negates up. Okay, den. So if they play a 3-drop, we have negate. Let's say they tap out for Narset, it's not going to resolve. Alright, that's definitely going to resolve, unfortunately. So they're going to have a ton of mana here pretty quickly. And it also stalls us out to a certain degree. Because we can't just Gearhulk and do a bunch of crazy stuff in a turn while this is out. Narset, I think we just negate that. I don't want to see that card. It just locks us out a little bit more. So they don't have a backup counterspell because they didn't want to fight for that. Pretty surprising. We're just going to take a damage. Chandra. Well, we know they're not playing counterspells, right? So we can just kill this. Feels pretty good. Pass the turn back. We really need like a basic land or steam vents to get the Sulphur Falls going so we can hit all of our mana. We kind of get some with the Chandra, but it's not going to be enough to win. Oh, Teferi's really good here too. So we still have our work cut out for us as they're drawing some cards. Okay, Chandra. Let's see. What can Chandra do for us? It can draw us a card. They're going to get to untap their mana, so they just have a ton of mana open, unfortunately. Did hit the coast. We're going to uptick on the Chandra. Deal the damage. Can't attack the Teferi yet, so we're just going to pass the turn back. And it looks like they probably have like a deluge here. So we're going to try for the long game. It's going to be tough. We need to get through this Teferi. The Chandra seemed really good at first, but, you know, they counteracted with one of their best cards. So, ooh, that's really good as well. They're going to be able to take down our Chandra here. So it looks like our opponent's somewhat in full control here of the game now. We're going to have a hard time getting out of this. Still possible, but a lot more challenging. So it looks like Chandra's going to go down. Still holding up this negate. I mean, I'm just going to do this because we need some kind of tempo play right now. We don't need them to just draw more cards. That's not good. They can bounce the Teferi during their turn. That was a pretty decent draw. We have Counterspell. Plus a Gearhulk. Still not looking good, though. Let's counter this, try to bounce it to Teferi. They only have 1 mana open. They have a Mystical Dispute. They have a Mystical Dispute. It looks like they do. Yep, so definitely not looking good now. Opponent has a Teferi. They have a full grip of cards, a Shark token. And on our battlefield, all that we have are lands, so it's, you know, definitely looking like it's pretty much game over for us here. Opponent kind of ran away once they were able to get that Teferi on the battlefield, just keeping the cards going, untapping their lands. Definitely going to be tough to get out of this situation. We'll go and see what we draw. I mean, you know, there's still have Magma Opuses. Still have some Fables. I don't know if the Fable is going to be good enough to take down a Teferi, but you know, we can still try to build a game plan here. We're at 19. Looks like our opponent is actually going to rumble up, though, and try to kill us as fast as they can. So we're going to take 11 here, go down to 8. And we just have to hope here that they don't have a counterspell. That's all that it really is. And they got another Lotus field, so they just have a ton of mana. And they're going to get to untap both of their Lotus fields. Draw another Gearhulk, but potentially just a bit too late. We can try to just cast it and see if it resolves. Highly unlikely. If it does, we'll get to bounce it to Teferi, make some copies, but yeah. Opponent just has discontinuity, and we just lose the game, so tough matchup. Once the opponent got the Teferi down, it was kind of just hard for us to bounce back from that, but overall, I mean, we went to game 3, and we showed what the deck can do against 2 control decks, so we'll see what we're up against next. Pizza people, are you enjoying the content? Don't forget, subscribe to the channel. It's free. Hit that bell icon as well. That way, anytime any of our new content comes out, you're able to see it right away. Hey, leave a comment down below as well. Tell us what you're going to play in the next event, or tell us what you're enjoying about the video. Don't forget, check out the description too. We've got tons of great content down below, and on top of that, we're going to have our tournament schedule too. So get in on it. Hope to see you. Let's get some Opus action going. Gearhulks City, let's go. On the play. I think we can keep this a little bit of an awkward hand, but we do have the Opus to ramp. We have 3 sensors, so I mean, we'll be cycling them or countering some spells here pretty shortly. And it looks like cycling them because we're potentially going to need some mana here. Are we up against a Phoenix deck, maybe? Okay, we have Ledger Shredder. That's going to get countered. And we went and drew a mountain, which is phenomenal. Pass turn back. And we can cast this Prismari command. Gigantha's going to go into their hand. We're going to go for a redraw. And try to hit some things that we need. Do we rather get rid of both? I mean, we were only really going to be doing... Yeah, let's make sure we hit our land drops. Okay, we still did it anyways. Play the den. Pass the turn back. Okay, opt. If they tap out, we just have Opus on our turn, and I don't really think that they can deal with that. Opt again, so it's definitely looking pretty clear that we're going to be able to Opus here pretty shortly. Ledger Shredder, not a big deal. Let's discard this other Opus. Untap. Cast our Gearhulk. Making a board state that's going to be really difficult for our opponent to deal with. Oh, we needed to deal this 4. I'm so sorry. Oh, kind of got ahead of myself there a little bit. Well, they definitely have to discard something here now. And we don't have a way to kill that. Wow, so we're... Oh, that was not good, so I apologize about that. Needed to deal that 4. I actually forgot that this got a counter from the Gearhulk itself. So we're going to take some damage here, looks like. And they have a Charter Course. I mean, it's still going to be hard for them to deal with what we're doing, but, you know, at the end of the day, it's not the wisest to make mistakes like that. You kind of let your opponent stay in the game, which is really bad. And we'll go ahead and play the coast. We do have this creature land to come in with. And we're just going to deal our opponent an absurd amount of damage, get them down to 6. And pass turn back. So either way, we still have a board state that's pretty insurmountable for them. Could have also killed the Sprite Dragon, but can still do that on our turn. Let's say they just wait to cast their instants and sorceries. They're going to get Gigantha down. They might. Yeah, definitely a bit of a mistake there, but we can definitely rebound. So they're at 6. Don't want to do that just yet. We want to blow these up for Gearhulks. So that's going to be 5 mana. Can also blow these up for Gearhulks. It's not really going to give us much because we got a Prismari command first. Let's come in for damage, see what our opponent does. Opponent does have quite a lot of cards in their hand left, so do run the risk of being in some trouble here. I'd be pretty surprised if they took the 4/4. Okay. Wow, they're going to take the 5. Alright, that's fine. They have some kind of kill spell here. Spike Field Hazard. Yeah, I mean, we're going to make a treasure and deal this too. And then we can still indomitable creativity for the other Prismara command to deal them the last points of damage. Okay, they just have play with fire, sure. I think it was pretty risky for them to take the damage, right? I mean, they could have a Prismara command still. Alright, going to damage. And they just have another play with fire, sure. And we can just creativity for a Gearhulk. Let's see if they have a counterspell. No counterspell yet. Gearhulk gonna come down. Prismara command. Treasure 2 damage. And we took it down, so even though we made a bit of a mistake there, we kind of just had a ridiculous board state to overcome that. We are playing against a blue deck, so we want all of our anti-blue cards. Ether Gust seems okay. Definitely want the fries here. Sensor's gonna go. Sweltering Suns. Not really a fan of. I think I'd rather just have like the hard removal. Let's see. Do we just want to run one just in case? Or even maybe the Chandras? Chandras can kill some things, right? Code of Prophecy for Suns. Doesn't really seem all that great though. Fabled. Fable could be a little bit slow in the matchup, so let's actually just do something like this and give us a little bit of some variety. That way we have the option of board wiping if our opponent has a really strong start. Alright. Opponent's still on the sideboard here. We're mostly just trying to do the same game plan here. I mean, we can easily go over the top of this deck considering they're looking just like a Phoenix Izzet tempo type strategy. Alright. See what we got cooking here in this game. I think this hand's decent. We got some lands. We can discard the Opus to ramp. Fire Prophecies here. I think we're looking pretty sharp. If they play a Shredder, it's just dead. Or that. That's also just going to die. Let's kill it now. I don't think I want to put anything back. Kind of like where my hand's at, even though we're, you know, a little bit mana short. Peasy with the opt. Do they got it? Young Peasy with the opt. Let's see if they do. Oh, a consider. Alright. Well, at least we'll get a treasure token. Really hoping to draw some lands here. Could have also dug a little bit deeper into the deck, but I usually like making the treasure token and giving ourselves better odds of doing more things. And the Surfer Falls right on time. We're just going to pass it back. We're going to take a point of damage here. Chart course, sure. It's not really doing anything yet. We have big score. We can discard this Opus. We're just going to get some treasures anyways here. We have 3 cards we can play. Wow, Sublime is huge. And we'll go ahead and play this. And pass the turn back. Kind of just have full control of the game now. We're just, you know, lots and lots of powerful spells. And they have a Ledger Shredder. We're just going to counter that. Bounce this. We'll draw a card. Only having to use one of these treasures also feels really good. Still hoping to draw the 6th land naturally, just so we don't have to rely on these treasures. And it looks like they have a mystical dispute, but we're going to see if they have a second one. We have negate. Do they have another mystical? They might. Doesn't look like they do, though. Unless they're just going to let that resolve and then counterspell. Nope. We draw our own mystical dispute here to help us a little bit. Soulscar Mage. We don't draw our 6th land, but I'm just going to do this now while they're tapped out. Now we still have both of our counter spells up. So I think we're just in really good position right now. Young Pyromancer, that resolves. Sprite Dragon, I think we're just going to have to mystical dispute that. Alright, looks like that's the end of their turn. We just have a Torrential Gearhulk. Let's just cast this now. No reason to wait. Opponent only really has 1 mana, so they could have the mystical dispute again. That's definitely a chance I'm willing to take here. They do not. We'll cast this Magma Opus, targeting the Pyromancer and our opponent, tapping them out completely, dealing them some damage. Opponent's going to go for Opt here. But we essentially wipe their board, make our own board, play a Spire Bluff Canal tapped. Things are looking good. Opponent is getting some redraws here. Oh, excuse me. Lost my voice a little bit there. Let's see. So we can kill this without a problem. We don't really need to put the creativity back. We can save that for later with the Fable if it becomes an emergency. And it looks like they have an Ether Gust. I'm not going to fight over this. We have a Fable that we'd rather play instead, honestly. Opponent just has 2 cards. They can probably play the Ledger Shredder, but we're just so far ahead that it's not going to matter. Alright, so opponent just rebuilds a little bit with some creatures. They have another Ledger Shredder. But we do have a Gearhulk here. I think we can get rid of this creativity now. We draw an extra land, which is nice. And we're just going to go off pretty hard here. Casting the Sublime. And we'll go ahead and bounce this Ledger Shredder. Copy the Gearhulk, target myself. And they will get a redraw, making the other Ledger Shredder bigger. But that's fine. It's going to happen anyways. Getting a copy here. So they have Mystical Dispute. Seems pretty good. Unfortunately, we did not attack with our Goblin token first, so kind of got burned a little bit there. Do have a Torrential Gearhulk, though, as backup, but that was definitely rough. I mean, in all honesty, it's not really looking like our opponent's getting closer to beating us, so we are not doing bad. And we'll go ahead and come in with the squad, making a treasure token. They're going to block that. And yeah, we'll go ahead and deal them 10. Let's turn back, just hold up our counter spells in case they do something. I mean, we're going to counter this Gigantha for sure. Opt is fine. It's not really doing anything crazy. And so far, everything's looking pretty good. Yep. We'll go ahead and test the talents, the Ether Gust now. And then we also have Gearhulk as backup, which we might end up just playing the Gearhulk and then smashing in, and then, I mean, let's see, library. All right, so we'll go ahead and grab this Ether Gust, grab the other ones. And we actually can just, let's see, I guess they do have a counterspell for the Prismari command. So either way, we wouldn't have been able to do it yet. Should be able to do it on our turn, though, because we do have enough mana to cast the Gearhulk and pay for the mystical. Our opponent's kind of going off here. They have quite a bit of a turn going on. But they can't necessarily attack with anything. And looks like they're going to come in for 4. We're not going to block that. Comes back to our turn. Wow, they're actually just tapping out. Yeah, we'll just Gearhulk into the Prismari command. And opponent's just, you know, draw and discard him, but definitely made the mistake of tapping out here, as that's just the end of the game. And pretty quick match, honestly. You know, made a mistake in the beginning, but I think that this match specifically showed the power of this deck, where even if you make a couple trips, like, you can still recover and just overpower your opponent quite easily. And we're back for the post-game wrap. This deck was pretty phenomenal, actually. We ended up losing there, at least in the videos, to a control matchup, and we ended up taking it to 3, so it really could have gone either way. I think that this deck just gives you so much game against some of the, you know, aggressive strategies, some of the mid-range strategies. You can go over top of them. Cat Oven, you have a pretty good matchup against that as well. And on top of that, I mean, you know, you have like the super strong combo finish that if your opponents aren't really ready for it, you can take game 1, and then in game 2, you can kind of play around some things. Maybe, you know, use a Prismari command to destroy Graph Diggers or a problematic Soul Guide Lantern, and then all of a sudden you can just go off with the Opus and the Gearhulk. So there's a ton of power here overall, and there's, you know, a good amount of early game to make sure that you get to that end game and just completely go over the top of your opponent. But yeah, this deck was just a blast. I really enjoyed playing Gearhulk. It's always been one of my favorite cards, and the Explorer format is just a blast to play. There's just all kinds of different strategies to be had, and every time that you jump on the ladder, it's pretty rare for you to play the same deck twice in a row. Like, you might end up playing the same deck a few times throughout the night, but it's not like that ridiculous where it's like back to back to back. But I've had a ton of fun with the format. I had a ton of fun with this deck. I definitely recommend it. If you've had a ton of fun with me, you made it this far into the video, greatly appreciate it. Hit the subscribe button. The bell notification would be greatly appreciated. And on top of that, you can leave a like on the video, comment down below. We host 3 tournaments a month, all are free to play. This coming Sunday, we actually have our first of 2 standard events this month with $90 cash prizes on the line. So sign up for that. The description is going to be down below. And I hope that you all stay cheesy.